I knew I wanted to be a nurse from the time I was 3 years old, I am told. I talked about being a nurse. Nobody else in our family was a nurse. So everybody embraced that, and when I got to high school, I knew I wanted to be a nurse. I didn't know the difference between nurses. So my high school counselor told me there was no difference between an LPN and an RN. I luckily chose the correct place to go at the College of St. Scholastica in Duluth, Minnesota, and luckily had chosen a 4-year program, which was awesome. And from there, then I went on and worked for several years in an NICU, and then decided I wanted to go to graduate school because I wanted to be a clinical nurse specialist. So I went to graduate school at the University of Minnesota, and for 17 years I was a clinical nurse specialist. And then I decided I was too comfortable, and so I looked at what would scare me, and being a nurse practitioner scared me. So I went on and did that. So I'm in my 17th year now of being a neonatal nurse practitioner. I'm not really sure why I wanted to become a nurse, but I think I came into the world of at least pediatrics and small people because down the street from me growing up was a woman who was a nurse, and her daughter was my best friend. And this woman was a pediatric nurse, and she was very open about talking about what it was like, the good days, the bad days, working nights, all of it. And it all intrigued me. But I think the biggest thing was I knew that I just wanted to help people somehow. And so I just felt like it was something that I had to do. I think the break that got me started in my field, where I'm at right now, starts with a very interesting nurse that I met in my very early days down in Rochester, Minnesota. And her name was Mary, and she did outreach education to other hospitals. And I had only been a nurse for a year, but she, for some reason, thought that I would be good at that. So she started taking me out, and I started talking to other hospitals about little babies and sick babies and how to take care of babies. And that is something that I've continued to do through every job that I've had. I've had the opportunity to continue to learn myself as well as to teach others. My crowning achievement as a professional, I really think has been just taking care of patients and their families. I have been so blessed and so privileged to see families and to care for babies at the best of times and the worst of times. And I have always felt like that is a gift that's been given to me. And I've been so happy that I have been able to help in some way in the lives of those families. The biggest achievements for me have been, of course, taking care of the patients. But going back to the teaching part, I so enjoy working with nurses and physicians as they learn to take care of the patients. So there are 2 classes that I do frequently. There is one class that I teach to physicians only, which is neonatal resuscitation. And so we do simulations of babies that are sick, babies who come out and are sick from the time they are born. And we throw them in and we have them perform in the simulation. And it's so fun to watch people learning and thinking about what they're doing and trying to make it better. And then we get phone calls back sometimes after the classes, and they'll say, you know, we had a baby like this and we were so prepared because we had this opportunity to go to this class. So that is one of my big things that I am proud of. The other thing is a program called Stable. And stable is what do you do after the big resuscitation? So it's everything else, taking care of sick babies. And I go out to hospitals and teach mostly nurses, but sometimes paramedics and respiratory therapists for this 9-hour course that I share with someone, and they listen to us for 9 hours. But that is also a program that prepares people so nicely to feel confidence in what they're doing. There was one person who I met many years ago who was the head nurse of our NICU at Children's St. Paul. And she and I just clicked in very many ways. I so respected her because she had so much integrity, and I wanted to make sure that I would always have that kind of integrity in my dealings with other people. So we had the opportunity to introduce something called Kangaroo Care into our NICU, and Kangaroo Care is mothers or dads holding a baby skin to skin on their chest, and the babies stay warm. Actually, the mom's body heat will go up to keep the baby warm. And we do this with babies who are as small as 500 grams. And they do such a good job. Once they are settled in, they sleep better, their heart rates are more normal. They just love it, and the moms love it, and the dads love it. And so we were very lucky, Jane and I, to be able to introduce this to our NICU when, as a real thing, as opposed to the rest of the country at that time was doing it as a research protocol only. The advice I would give to someone who is contemplating any position, but especially a position in nursing, is that you have a whole world of opportunity. And although there's that opportunity everywhere, the basis always needs to be the patient and their family, because you become part of their life and part of their history, and you can never ever forget that. My parents were, I always said my mom was my biggest fan. I was the first person in our family on either side to go to college, and we didn't have a whole lot of money, but they really felt strongly that they wanted to help me do this. So my mom used to iron my nursing uniforms and put stuff on my shoes to keep them all white. She just fell right into it. And my dad paid for, I really, with his very hard-earned money, paid for my tuition as I was going to college. And then they just were so wonderful as I was able to move on and do all the things that I really wanted to do. I wouldn't have been able to do that without them and without their support. Because for anybody, and I think in any job, and for me as a new nurse especially, there were good days and bad days, and there were a lot of days that I just wanted to get on the phone and talk or cry about the day that I had had. So their support was everything to me. The legacy I hope to leave behind is just one of caring. People really need to care about whatever it is that they do. And I think nurses learn very early about caring, but to really care means that you also leave yourself open to learning new things, and to trialing something different, and to sometimes doing things that feel a little bit uncomfortable. So that's what I want to leave behind. And then I'm actually retiring from my full-time job at the end of December. And I have been getting letters and notes from people who talk about the kinds of things that I did or said that helped them to become better nurses, and that just touches my heart. If I had to summarize my life in one word, I would choose the word joy. Because even though there are moments that are very sad in what I do, there actually is pure joy throughout all of it.